Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
They won't come into Death Valley in awe. I think the mantra of that team is about being tough and having an edge to them and competing at a very, very high emotional level.
We're just a struggling bunch, but we've been in every game but one. So we got to believe we got a chance to win some close games as we finish up.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Thursday night from Main Street, downtown Columbia, your sports talk show of Main Street, South Carolina. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes here. As we head towards the weekend, the football getting underway tonight in the NFL. And, of course, a lot of great football games coming up this weekend, including Louisville at Clemson, 3:30 in the Valley. You heard Venables there talking about Louisville and how they will come into the game on Saturday with a lot of confidence and, feeling like their offense can do some damage against the Clemson defense. More on that coming up tonight. Lee Sterling will be with us tonight as well. But as we open up tonight, more bad news for SEC football involving one of their star players, Georgia's Todd Gurley, suspended indefinitely. And apparently it's got something to do with signing some things and the NCAA investigating whether or not he received some payments, some money in exchange for autograph or the use of his likeness. Seth Emerson of the Macon Telegraph reporting that. Bruce Feldman, Fox Sports, also reporting something along those same lines. So Gurley suspended indefinitely from competition. This came out from UGA just a little while ago. Now, I'm sure, I don't know how deep they are into this investigation. Is this something that can be resolved before they go to Missouri and play on Saturday? We'll just have to wait and see. But, guys, it's just been a bad week for some individuals around the SEC.
Just give a call to Texas. The attorney that Manziel used, could we bring him over here to Georgia and see what we can do for Mr. Gurley?
This is that double-edged sword that you run into with these superstar players, and this is really the norm now, from Cam Newton to Jameis Winston to Johnny Manziel to Davion Clowney. Remember, he was investigated for a similar thing, cleared. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to imply. Right. I don't want anybody to infer that that's what I'm saying about Clowney, but he was in the crosshairs like that. Now, Todd Gurley. In a lot of very similar situations. These leeches are everywhere that are trying to get to these kids. And remember, they are still college kids that don't have a lot of money in their pocket, that know in just a few months they will have a lot of money in their pocket. And it's for some kids to turn down. And that might have been the case here with Gurley, it sounds like, with his autographs and likeness. With memorabilia.
And this will be the kind of thing that with the new rules going into effect, once they're all approved with the Power 5 conference arrangement, that they want to get rid of this kind of stuff and let some of these guys who can benefit go ahead and do so. We'll be right back. phone number here on Sports Talk, 800-956-7266. You can email us as well, talk@sportstalksc.com. Go to our website of our stories. K-Mac had a nice commentary up there yesterday. A lot of folks responded to that. If you haven't read it, go do so. It's about South Carolina, why they're in the predicament that they are in this season, who to blame, but more importantly, from his perspective, K-Mac, who not to blame.
Yeah, it's all there at sportstalksc.com. And if you're lazy, like a lot of us are, and don't feel like going and reading it, the gist of it is just take a deep breath and relax and saddle up and buckle up. You might be in for a bumpy ride this season, but it's, you got to go down when you go up. I mean, I compared it to a balloon inflating, and then it deflates for a minute when you take a breath and you put a little more air in it. Yeah. So up, you were up and you were down. So maybe in second thought, I'm not doing a very good job.
Go read it.
Go read it. Yeah. I think it makes a lot more sense. I swear.
Correction. That same talk is going on after they lose to Mississippi at Alabama. Well, yeah, we got a lot of 5 stars, but they're not as good as we thought they were.
Well, what's interesting about Alabama is that one of their all-time heroes, A.J. McCarron, the other day was on a radio station in Tuscaloosa, and he criticized Alabama. He had the gall to say what was on his mind, which was that the offense was stagnant, stale. He thought that Saban may be handcuffing Kiffin when it came to calling plays, this, that, and the other, and man, the blowback he's gotten. And now, of course, he's walking it back. And coming to his defense, the gorgeous fiancee, Miss Webb, and she came out and said that, he was misquoted. He was taken out of context, except the problem with that is that the article that she was referring to quoted him word for word. The transcript from the interview just basically pasted that word for word, didn't rewrite anything. So, no, he wasn't taken out of context. Fran Tarkenton ripped him for criticizing Alabama. And, of course, McCarron, as all these celebrities do when they really say what's on their mind, and then the people around them say, you can't say that, then they walk it back.
I know.
But you go with the first expression. And he said what he really felt in that interview, and he's trying to walk it back some.
It wasn't really hard hitting or cutting edge. It's like, and then we don't like all these canned and generic answers that we get, but you almost have to do that in this day and age. But there's such a fine line at a high level in the SEC, especially when you talk about the SEC West, between winning and losing. I mean, it's really like the NFL. On any given Sunday in NFL, the Jacksonville Jaguars can beat the Denver Broncos. That can happen. I mean, and there's never a point spread, usually more than, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 points. Very rare do you have a double-digit point spread.
The Jacksonville Jaguars can beat.
They'll beat somebody. I mean, they will. I mean, that can happen. I mean, it's just. But the thing about Jacksonville, they're in a lot of those games. They come down to the fourth quarter. They're just not making a play, and that's what. Back to the Gamecocks, they're not that far away. They're not as good as they were last year,
17 minutes,
or the year before, but they're not that far away. They could bounce back next year and have the big season. So,
all right, the number 800-956-7266. So we can take your phone calls, and we'll get to those in a moment. Look ahead to Clemson and Louisville and who you think is going to win there. And also, if you're a Gamecock fan, you have no game to talk about this weekend, but you can talk about what's going to happen in the second half of the season. With 6 games to go, will the Gamecocks go 6-0, 5-1, 4-2, 3-3? How do you see the rest of the season playing out? A couple of other notes. Qualifying coming up in just a little while at Charlotte. They're racing on Saturday night, so they're going to qualify tonight, and so that's happening a little bit later on. They're having practice sessions here this afternoon, so we'll keep a close watch on qualifying once it begins in Charlotte this afternoon. Back to SEC players with issues. How about this story? Treon Harris, quarterback at Florida. Is it Treon or Treon?
Treon.
Treon Harris, quarterback at Florida, who has been suspended because of an alleged, a rape charge against him or sexual assault. His attorney came out swinging today. He said the woman was the, quote, sexual aggressor, end quote. He staunchly defended his clients against the allegations. His name is Huntley Johnson. He attempted to dispel some reports about Harris's relationship with the woman and what happened early Sunday at an on-campus residence, saying, quote, misstatements in the media have painted a picture that is inconsistent with the evidence. We believe the evidence will show that the victim was, in fact, the sexual aggressor with not one but two young men early last Sunday morning.
And it's enter the lawyer here to begin the smear campaign against the girl. And we don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know
the truth.
But
This
is the same thing Jameis Winston's lawyer did. This is the same thing Kobe Bryant's lawyer. This is what they do. They blame the media, and then they use the media to smear the
Harris
character
has not
of the
been
girl.
arrested. He's not been arrested or charged with a crime.
There's one.
It makes me feel slimy when I hear these lawyers.
That's a tactic that the attorneys use, because it always boils down, if there's no salient evidence, he said, she said. That's why a lot of professional athletes today, are hiring women lawyers.
Harris's attorney adamant the quarterback did nothing wrong. Quote, we want to dispel the idea that the alleged victim and our client didn't know each other. Our client and they knew each other to the extent that they had each other's cell phone numbers and had previously spent time together of their own accord for the purpose of socializing together. We want to dispel the idea and rumors floating around that our client forced his way into the alleged victim's apartment. Those rumors are patently false. Mr. Harris has never been inside the young lady's room. We understand that all of the evidence was gathered in our client's room, which is where the interaction between the two parties took place. He also said the investigation has produced no evidence that the woman was impaired, and added that another man told law enforcement that he had sexual relations with the woman less than an hour before the alleged assault took place. The attorney also provided at least 6 eyewitnesses to the events in question, provided internet photos of the alleged victim, quote, smiling and happy, end quote, after the alleged misconduct on Sunday.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens there. In the meantime, Harris is out for this week, and
couple that with the Kentucky defensive end.
Yeah, got that situation going on, and of course, Florida now going to go back to Driscoll as the starting quarterback.
And then his backup was slugging a defensive lineman earlier this week.
Good luck with all that.
When Jeff Driscoll prayed that he didn't lose his starting job, he had no idea
that it would be this
how it
way.
would turn out.
Lee Sterling coming up at the bottom of the hour, so get ready for Lee. Let's go ahead and get to your phone calls. 800-956-7266. We go to Ron in Honeypath is up first tonight. Hi, Ron, and welcome to Sports Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. I
Sure.
want to make 3 points about the Gamecocks, and then I'll hang up and let you talk about them. Number one, the proper Gamecock quarterback is doing well every Saturday for Wisconsin.
Ooh.
Number two,
Tanner McAvoy.
He was benched in the middle of the game last week, right?
Yeah, he can't throw a lick. He cannot throw a lick. Go ahead, though.
Okay. Point two, there are some recruits that didn't get on campus in the defensive area, like the Weidman kid from Saluda and the junior college transfer, Abu Lamin or something like that. I haven't heard from him.
Now, he's there.
So I don't know if it's a lack of depth or a lack of conditioning or both. But and then we got I noticed where Lorenzo Ward came out and actually commented on Bryson Williams playing with one arm, and I was seeing play after he did not use his right arm. The father said the left arm, but I saw him not using his right arm to either bat down a pass or wrap up on the tackle. And,
all right, well,
those are my 3 thoughts.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Weidman, you're right about that. He didn't make it in. He's at a prep school. He's over at Camden Military and doing fine. Abu Lamin is on the team. He's just not playing very much right now. And we'll address the other comment in a moment. Be right back. right, just to finish the answer to the caller's questions, Abu Lamine is at USC, is playing. He's played in all 6 games. He's had 5 tackles. So I don't know if they are happy with him in terms of his performance and productivity. He was the number 1 rated junior college defensive lineman in the country, and perhaps you would expect more than 5 tackles in 6 games. But he is making that transition, and for some junior college players, it comes slowly. And then Bryson Williams, you can't criticize him. He is playing hurt. He does have a damaged left forearm that inhibits his ability to wrap up from time to time. He does have 7 tackles, an interception for a pick 6, and he's broken up 2 others. So, and he's flip-flopped between safety and corner, which is easy to do because, it affects your ability to focus on the techniques, the 2 different techniques at those positions, and he's being asked to go back and forth at times. So I would not criticize him in any form or fashion, but it does tell you just how thin they are and inexperienced they are in the secondary, that they have to play a guy at 2 different positions and also and play him less than 100%.
And play all those freshmen,
especially when you have a pass rush. See, last year with number 7, you could get away with those young guys in the secondary.
But they didn't have young guys in the secondary last year.
That's what I was saying.
They had a senior cornerback on one side and a junior cornerback that left early to go to the NFL on the other side, it combined with a great pass rush, which is why Lorenzo Ward was a great coach last year. But
this is what's interesting. So we actually don't know how good those guys were last year because number 7 was there. Suppose when they had this rush this year.
All right, back to the phones. And is that right? All right, we interrupt our program to welcome in the de facto mayor of the city of Charleston, the bad boy by the bay, the pontiff of the port city, the queen of the cowboy crybabies, and the man just identified as the provider of the funds to Todd Gurley for his jocks, for a signed jockstrap. It's not Jim Rome, it is Jerome. Did you get
my favorite?
Did you get
my favorite Jewish?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Jerome.
To my favorite Jewish brother, I would say shalom.
Shalom to you.
Even though he talks bad about me,
now
I say shalom to him.
Shalom can mean hello and goodbye.
Like aloha.
Well, in this case, we say hello.
Okay.
Let me ask you, how does little Laney boy, pretty boy Lane, how does he keep falling into all these cursy jobs? Oh, let me see. I guess it's because of who his daddy is, huh? You think that? Oh, by the way, Charles Barkley, please stay off of television because after defending a child abuser like Adrian Peterson, you don't need to be on television anymore because you're an idiot. And one more thing, please. I want Arkansas to bring me home a W this week. Could you ask me? Do they have it? Thank you.
They have it.
I'll certainly ask and see if they can come through for you. Thank you, Jerome. Jerome was contrite, to the point, and well prepared tonight. Sounds like he was reading off a script. Think somebody wrote that for him?
But notice that he's whistling next to the graveyard because he refuses to talk about the rejuvenated Cowboys.
Well, they're going to get rejuvenated this weekend.
At the hands of.
They're getting theirs coming weekend. They're stepping up in.
You're talking about they're playing the Pack?
No. Oh. They're playing somebody good. I can't remember who it is, though.
But they're good right now.
All right, we'll be right back. And welcome back into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from Columbia. Phil Kornbluth, Tom Hayes, and Kevin McCrary. Your calls coming up once again in a couple of minutes, couple of quick notes, and then Lee Sterling is going to join us from Louisville just after their practice session. Bobby Petrino was asked who will start at quarterback Saturday. He says that's something he's going to keep between himself and his offensive coordinator, Garrick McGee. So he will not say who will start. Will Gardner is fully healthy, practiced in full all week. He had been the starter before getting hurt. He hasn't played or hasn't started the last two games. Receiver Devontae Parker, sore from practice this week. Evaluate him tonight and tomorrow to determine if he will play. And from Clemson, Sharon Peake has been ruled out for Saturday.
And everybody else that I saw on that list, it was pretty standard, but Peake was one that stood out.
All right, let's welcome in our good friend Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports, coming off another 2-2 week, which means you're not a winner, but you're not a loser either.
Yeah, went 2-2 on the games, but had a great week for my clients. Actually went 9-1 on Saturday. The only loss was the Michigan State game. So if you lose a game like that, you can't get too upset. You know, you're on the right side. You're going to win 98, 99% of those games. So when you were talking about Petrino before that, I was going to throw in a line there. I thought he was going to keep it between him and, remember, his old girlfriend.
Oh no.
Who, I don't know if you're aware of this. I guess she's still here. You know, she moved to Columbia.
Yeah, I did hear
a couple
that.
of years ago because
Is he dating anyone on the South Carolina staff?
I know
can't go there.
She stuck it out with her
boyfriend,
with her guy,
fiance, or whatever he was.
But it'll be interesting to see if Petrino, takes the motorcycle on I-20. If you see a motorcycle with Bobby Petrino on it heading down I-26 Friday night, you'll know something's up.
A hog on a hog.
Yeah,
all right, let's get to your picks. So first of all, before we do that, let's tell folks about Paramount Sports, what you got running up there, and how they can go get it.
Well, we're going to look to stay on a roll here, and as everyone knows, I rate my games from 10 to 50 units. We rarely put out big plays. I rate my games, like I said, from 10 to 50. Maybe 4 or 5 times a year where we put out a 40 to 50 unit game, but we have our second one going this year. Earlier in the year, we had BYU getting 1.5. They thrashed Texas 41-7. I've got my second 40 to 50 unit game going this Saturday, and it's already up and available. And this is a game that I've been waiting for a couple weeks. It's a great matchup, great situationally. Some injuries on one side, and all of them are not being reported. So I'm looking to take advantage. And we've won 22-2 on these games over the last 5+ seasons. So if you'd like to get involved and get that game or all my games over the next 3 weeks, just go to ParamountSports.com. Use coupon code SAVE50, my executive phone service, 3 weeks from now through October 31st, ParamountSports.com, or call me here at the office, 800-400-9741.
Great. All right, now your game of the week will go down to the bottom of the list here first. Georgia, Missouri now with the Whirly news. I mean, the girly news. I keep calling him Whirly. The girly news. What's that going to do to the line and your general thinking?
Okay, here's what's happened already. The line originally went off the board, and it has come back in some spots as Missouri is the 1-point favorite. So if you'd like to get that game, as soon as the segment's over, call 800-400-9741. Certainly will affect the line. I see the line ending up as Missouri's a 2.5 to 3-point favorite. I mean, he's probably right now the best player in college football, and he's worth 5 to 6 points.
Wow. Okay, let's go to some of the other games that you're interested in. Let's go with this Auburn-Mississippi State game. Auburn on the road favored by 3. And I guess you kind of have to factor in, here's Mississippi State coming off that huge emotional win last week. And can they get back to where they were last week, the second week in a row?
Well, that's the question. But I think if with them playing home, I think it's a little bit easier. If they were going out on the road, would be tougher. But this is a team that has a lot of veterans on the team. They played a lot of starts. It's not like they're a young team. And I think this is going to be a great game because you got two offenses operating at a high level. Both quarterbacks are dual threats. I think Prescott might be a little more explosive passing and running the ball than Marshall. Not much, but I think the difference in the game is going to be the Mississippi State front seven. They're big, they're strong, they're fast. They're allowing just 98 yards per game and 2.8 yards per carry. And Mississippi State is already 2-0 this year in revenge games, knocking off LSU and A&M. I'm going to say they moved to 3-0 after Saturday. Wrong team is favored, guys. Mississippi State 35, Auburn 30.
Wow. Boy, the people in Starkville will go absolutely batty if they can pull off that kind of win. What about Texas A&M and Mississippi? And A&M is a 3-point favorite.
Well, sometimes it's not who the better team is. It's all about matchups. And Ole Miss, I don't see them having that same downhill rushing attack that Arkansas and Mississippi State have. So it's a better matchup for A&M. The Aggies have just worn down. And when they can't get their offense on the field and control the ball, they're always going to have a problem. So I think it's going to be two teams trading points here. A&M being at home obviously helps them. First true road test for Ole Miss this year, and I think it's going to be tough. Now, Mississippi State win was big, but the win for Ole Miss over Alabama, I mean, that's one for the ages. I have A&M winning this game 38-32.
Okay, what about let's go to the upstate here, Clemson. Now, your sheet here says a 12-point favorite. I think that line has dropped to about 9.5. So the Tigers 9.5. Number one defense in the country statistically. What are you thinking here?
Well, they are real good defensive. They have not faced a great offense yet. I thought they faced Miami when Miami was not prepared with the true freshman starting his first game. I think Watson is going to be tough for them to contain. I think he's going to run the ball here as well as throw the ball. You know, his passing efficiency rating is only exceeded by one player in the country right now. That's Marcus Mariota. So he's playing at a very high level, and I think he's going to give Louisville some problems. The Tiger front seven will also keep some pressure on the Louisville quarterbacks. They just haven't developed yet. I mean, if there's any team that lost a player that has had a bigger impact over the last 3 or 4 years, it was Teddy Bridgewater. Also, the third straight game for the Tigers is a plus here. I have Clemson winning and covering this game 27-14.
Oh, okay. Tiger fans will be happy to hear that. And one more for you here. It's an NFL game. It's the Panthers against Cincinnati, and Bengals favored by 7, unless that line has changed with the news about A.J. Green.
You know, it hasn't changed a whole lot. I'm seeing a few spots 6.5, but it's holding up 7. And I think the reason is I think most people will think, okay, Cincinnati lost last week. They faced a hungry team in New England. They'll be ready to go in this game. The problem here is I just don't believe in Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, he can look good for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you see the bad Andy Dalton like last week. And very rarely can he turn that switch on and go from bad to good. And also, I just think that the Cincinnati pass defense, ranked number 20 in the NFL, I don't think they're good enough to shut a team down. I just think that Carolina's going to come in, and they're going to be able to use the pass to set up the run. I'm going to say Cincinnati wins 24-23, but Carolina covers.
All right, very good. Well, we hope you have a great weekend and things go superb for you, and we'll talk to you next Thursday.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Our buddy Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports. So he likes Clemson, guys. He likes Clemson to win and to cover. I don't know. I think low-scoring game. I have to respect Louisville's defense right now. Clemson and the running game, I think, is still a question mark, even though they did run it better against NC State. Who knows how good NC State's defense is? I watched the second half of that game last night, and they didn't score an offensive touchdown in the second half. Now, maybe they were mentally down because of the big lead, but I don't know. Watson tends to like to go for the deep ball a lot, the home run ball, and not settle in for those underneath passes and those dump off passes.
Petrino will be seduced into playing Clemson's game. That's why it's going to be high scoring.
It's good. Getting out here, getting back to work, learning from mistakes.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We'll get back to your phone calls in just a moment. Jamie Chadwell, coach at Charleston Southern, going to join us in the next hour. Plus, we've got some Gamecocks and Tigers that we'll be hearing from as well. Right now, time for our high school football report brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. And let's update some statistical leaders around the state, courtesy of the high school sports report. Your leading rusher is Alex North out of Faith Christian, 1,418 yards. Will Tootin from Patrick Henry, 1,386 yards. Nate Schlosser, Academic Magnet, 1,289 yards. Anderson Broom, 1,150 yards. Your leading passer is Kelly Bryant from Wren, the Clemson commitment, having a great year. Shrine Bowl selection, 2,300 yards, 24 touchdowns. Will he ever play quarterback at Clemson? You got him. You got Tucker Israel coming in. They're going to get a commitment this weekend from a quarterback. We'll tell you about that in recruiting. He's a very good athlete, but he wants to play quarterback. He's got 24 touchdown passes as well. Cole Martin, Nation Ford, 2,179 yards, 26 touchdowns. Danzel Rivers of Chesterfield, 1,823 yards and 19 touchdowns. The big kid from York, Deshaw Andrews, 1,746 and 16 touchdowns. And the junior from Spartanburg, Austin Scott, 1,742 and 18. Leading receiver, J.J. Arcega Whiteside of Dorman, 53 catches, 952 yards, 12 touchdowns. Hank Tui Pelotu from Nation Ford, 66 catches, 876 yards, 14 scores. Christian Bruce of Wilson, 40, 803 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Leading tackler, Hunter Collins from Lamar, 117 hits. Brandon Brown of Ashley Ridge with 102. There you go with some stats from across the state from the high school sports report, and that is tonight's high school football report brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. Back to the phones we go. 800-956-7266. It is Bulldog Burt in Saluda. BB, sorry about the news, but hey, you know how it is at Georgia. Give them time. They'll do the crime.
Well, I was just bragging on him yesterday about how good he was. He was going to win the Heisman. We wasn't going to lose another game. And he said, show me the money, I guess. I heard he took $100,000. Have you heard any other reports?
$100,000?
$100,000.
K-Mac, $100,000 for memorabilia?
That's a lot of money. But you know what? It's market value. Everybody talks about the free market and market value. If somebody goes up to you as a college kid and says, I'll give you $100,000 for your jersey that you're going to put in the dumpster anyway, or your cleats, fine. And this is why the NCAA should have set something up, given these kids a bigger piece of the pie, and said, you know what, you can get merchandising, but not until you graduate. It goes in an escrow account. Then I wouldn't feel bad for these guys. Then they wouldn't feel like they're getting robbed, because now it's really time balls to go up to these kids that a lot of them come from poor families. Let's face it. I mean, everybody knows where a lot of these kids are recruited out of: tough, often single families, low income families. They have no money. And these guys, they see the millions of dollars that are being made around them. Somebody comes up and says, man, that's wrong. George is making money on you. Mark, all these guys are making money on you. You need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your mom. They're not looking at, what if you blow your knee out tomorrow? You're not going to get a dime. Then what are you going to do?
I don't know if it has anything to do with family, because you got a guy like Johnny Manziel who comes from a family of means, and he took care of himself.
Yeah, the sad part about it is, in all seriousness, BB, you know, the climate now is changed, and we're headed towards what K-Mac is talking about, a situation where these guys can profit off their likeness and off their reputation. But unfortunately, guys who are still doing it outside of the boundaries of the current rules now are going to get caught up in the penalties. The guys next year, you know, they may not have to worry about this kind of thing.
And we lose. College football loses. We don't get to watch one of the best running backs in the country, a Heisman Trophy candidate, maybe the best, maybe the winner if he plays every game. We don't get to see that. Georgia loses. Everybody loses here over what? I mean, this didn't affect anything. This didn't help. This didn't give Georgia an advantage. This didn't change the outcome.
Of course, $100,000. BB, what's your source on that, BB?
If somebody's willing to pay, I mean, willing to pay.
Well,
what's your source on it? Is it a good source, inside source?
The back end of his tail.
It's pretty good. Pretty good source there, $100,000. And if somebody wanted my signature for $100,000, it'd be pretty hard to turn down.
Oh, I would agree. How much does it? How long does it take to write BB? I mean, you have a very short signature too. That's a pretty good deal if you can make that happen. Thanks for the call. We'll be right back. All right, let's get to the recruiting for tonight, and we'll get to your phone calls in the next hour. Also, we'll hear from Brent Venables from Clemson, Dylan Thompson from USC, Jamie Chadwell from Charleston Southern. Recruiting tonight here on Sports Talk, brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperatives. Sponsors of the 2013 Touchstone Energy Bowl. Did I say 2013? I meant 2014. 2014. They were the sponsors.
We're going
for
back in
2013,
time.
but also 2014 Touchstone Energy Bowl, and that's coming up December 13th at Myrtle Beach, and certainly we hope to see you there. Going to be a terrific game, terrific week in Myrtle Beach. A lot of great activities being planned for the weekend of the game, so make your plans on being in Myrtle Beach for that. Now to recruiting, and I mentioned earlier that Clemson's in position to get a quarterback commitment this weekend. Zarek Cooper, quarterback out of Jonesboro, Georgia. Told us last night that he is going to commit to Clemson this weekend. He's made up his mind. He's told the Clemson coaches they're on board with it. Says he has a great relationship with Morris and Sweeney that he wouldn't find anywhere else. Now, Cooper's been out this season after suffering a torn ACL in the second game of the season. But he said Clemson has stuck with him through the injury. As a sophomore, he passed for 1,200 yards and 7 touchdowns. And he feels like he can go in and do things like Deshaun Watson. And all these young quarterbacks now comparing themselves to Deshaun Watson. So he feels like he'll redshirt, and then Watson will leave after his third year, and then he feels like he can go in and do the job. So look for that to happen on Saturday afternoon. He didn't know if it would happen before or after the game, but that is what he is planning to do. Defensive back John Broussard from Phoenix City, Alabama, continues to hold interest in USC and Clemson, though he hasn't heard from either recently. Hopes to get to a game at both this season. Camped at USC this past summer, so he's got a pretty good feel for the Gamecocks, and he likes Grady Brown. He was at Auburn last weekend. That's right down the road from where he lives, and he admits that gives Auburn a slight edge over the field because he can get there so quickly, and he's been there several times. He feels Auburn and Kentucky are recruiting him the hardest right now. He's also been to Alabama for games. In basketball, Clemson canceled an official visit scheduled this weekend for 6'11" at Newfield. We told you about that last night. Tigers may be focusing on 6'9" John Carlos Reyes of Sewanee, Georgia. He attends school in LaGrange, Georgia. He worked out for Brad Brownell late last month, talked on the phone with Steve Smith late last week. The Tigers also saw him in their elite camp, and he said Clemson's been recruiting him for a while. They definitely like him. He's not set any official visits because he hasn't taken the SAT or ACT yet. He'll do that soon. He wants to take officials to Clemson and Tennessee. USC has had some contact as well, but the last was a couple of weeks ago. He does not plan to sign until the spring, and he said Clemson has told him they will stay with him. All right, there you go with recruiting. Top of the hour break, and we'll be right back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
And we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Thursday night. Glad that you are still with us. We are still with you as we come to you from our studios, Main Street in Columbia. Sports Talk, your final word in sports every night in South Carolina. Your most informed, your most educated, and when I speak, your most handsome word in sports. I'm not just saying that on my own. I've heard that from other people as well. 800-956-7266.
I don't see anybody paying for your likeness.
No one's paying you $100,000 for your likeness.
800-956-7266. Lines are open. The other night we were talking about South Carolina's offense and conversions, third down conversions, and things of that nature. We were talking about how good Connor Shaw was for South Carolina last year in converting third down and fourth down. So I did a little research today. First of all, at this stage of the season, halfway through the season, South Carolina is converting 44% of third down opportunity, the exact figure they had last year. So they're no better or no worse from that standpoint. But for what it's worth, I went back last season. Connor Shaw converted third and fourth down opportunities running the ball 23 times. He got first down with a run on third or fourth down. The Gamecocks had 134 rushing first downs last year, so he accounted for 17% of those on third and fourth down. So I don't know. Is that a big number? It's pretty large for one person on third, fourth down to have 23 conversions in 13 games last year.
Not for a dual threat quarterback. I don't think it's a big number.
Now, Dylan Thompson this year through 6 games, and this is where I think it tells you that it's really not that big of a deal. And I'm not trying to make a big deal out of it, but after looking it up, it really is not that big of a deal. Through 6 games, third and fourth down conversions by Dylan Thompson throwing the ball. He's got 17 of those through 6 games. Now, with them passing the ball, they are really converting first downs earlier in drives. They have a pretty good number of first downs. Most of them are happening on first and second down. They're getting first downs earlier in drives. When it comes to third downs, 17 times this season, Thompson has thrown a pass that converted a third or fourth down into a first down. So that's 17 in 6 games. So that's about 3 per game. Fudge a little bit with the math. That's about 3 per game, which is a better average passing and converting on third down than Connor Shaw was last year running and converting on third and fourth down.
But it's when they do it. It's just like a hitter who may put out his first 2 or 3 times, but when the runners on first and second, the 8th and 9th inning, they come through. So South Carolina is not converting when they have to.
Third down is third down. And, converting third and fourth downs keeps drives alive.
Late when you got to keep a drive.
The last 2 games, they didn't do it on that last possession. Yeah, on that last possession. But what I'm saying is here, Dylan Thompson's done a nice job throwing the ball and keeping drives alive.
Fine. Yeah, the heat on him's not fair.
Be right back. right, qualifying about to get underway in Charlotte. We'll keep you up to date on that. In practice today, Kevin Harvick, 196.192. He was the fastest in the first round of practice. Austin Dillon, 96.107. They were the only two to eclipse 196 miles an hour. And qualifying about to get underway shortly. Jeff Gordon was pretty fast in practice. The Busch brothers were as well. Danica Patrick was in the top 10 in practice. So we'll let you know as things are unfolding in Charlotte. They're going to be racing Saturday night, so they are qualifying tonight in Charlotte. 800-956-7266. Lines are open once again if you'd like to join us here on the program. Thoughts about Todd Gurley, thoughts about Clemson and Louisville, thoughts about the rest of the season for the Gamecocks.
Yeah, if there's an attorney who loves sports that'd like to call us in, I'd like that person, he or she, to answer a question for me. Jim Boeheim has a book out, and in the book, he reveals Carmelo's grades from his first semester. Now, wait a minute now. I mean, does Carmelo have a case to sue? I mean, why do you reveal a guy's grades?
How good were the grades?
4 C's and a D
Mm-hmm.
in his first semester. So
yeah, he was eligible, right?
He was eligible, but I'm wondering, how do you reveal the guy's personal grades in your book? That's strange to me.
All right, 800-956-7266 is the number. Let's go to George and Easley for our next phone call. Hello, George.
Yes, sir. A couple of questions. First one is there any chance that Gurley maybe was ineligible for some of these games this year? Is there any possibility, or you see anything there? The next question, guys, is as far as our defense is concerned, we have two philosophies when the coaches just took over the defensive line. He does not believe in gap control, and I believe this is killing us. This back that he ran straight ahead on us the other night, this happened last year, guys. The same thing happened. And Coach Spurrier went off on a sideline. I mean, he went off Saturday at halftime and said, we got to find a way to stop this. They didn't. And it's, I don't know what it is, but Deke's philosophy, and now I understand that the coordinator is going to be in the booth, and he said they're changing that philosophy on the line attack.
Mm-hmm.
Can you comment?
Well, I think they're just searching right now on defense. They're searching for anything that might work. And, putting Lorenzo up in the booth, I don't know how much – nobody's seen to complain about him being on the field last year. But then again, dealing with younger players, last year he had veteran guys except at linebacker, and the year before that he had veteran guys. So, maybe it was easier to deal with them and see what was going on and make the adjustments there. They feel like with him going upstairs, he'll get a better look at things and he'll be able to see for himself. Angles being taken, gaps being missed, formations not being set up properly that maybe he can fix and adjust from his spot upstairs. So, they're just searching right now. You hate to be doing that this halfway through a season, but that's kind of the situation.
That simplify word. You never want to hear that word. We're simplifying things.
The one thing I will say is certain defensive line coaches have different philosophies, and both work. There is no true correct philosophy, but here's the key. Some defensive linemen, and you said Deke Adams does this, they believe in disrupting by quick penetration, and the gap control is done by the linebackers. That's one thing. So gap control is paramount in any defense. It depends on whose responsibility it is.
Yeah. All right, thanks very much. Appreciate your phone call. We'll see if that helps the Gamecocks. Furman, it's not really going to matter. But when they go to Auburn, we'll see what impact that might have if he's still up in the booth. He said he'd be up there the rest of the season, so I guess he'll still be up there when they go to Auburn. He can have a cup of coffee up there with his good buddy Ellis Johnson, who'll be up in the booth for the Tigers. We go next to JC in Myrtle Beach. Hi, JC. Welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, guys. How y'all doing?
Man, we're doing great.
I just wanted. I'm an attorney, and I wanted to answer the question about Jim Boeheim and Carmelo Anthony. I mean, Boeheim could have gotten Carmelo's consent to publish it. That's one explanation, and that probably even without consent, the more I guess the more rational explanation would be what are Carmelo's damages, even if there is a Privacy Act violation. I mean, he's a 100 times over millionaire, and it obviously hasn't affected his ability to do what he loves and to get paid for it. So, I mean, even if there is a Privacy Act violation, it's going to be hard to establish an amount of damages that's even worth suing, because that probably costs more than what you get from a jury. So,
yeah, I was just
that's probably why nothing would be done.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the way Carol Burnett thought about it years ago when she sued the National Enquirer. She said, "Well, you're not going to get much." So it's the principle of the thing. That's why I'm suing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and who sues on principle? Millionaires. So that's the old saying. So you guys have a good one. Enjoy the show.
All right. Thank you very much. Did you see the net worth of the guy that just bought the Buffalo Bills? Over $4 billion. He made his money in natural gas up there in the.
That's
I guess
the
in the
guy
Northeast.
that bought the Clippers. He paid in cash.
Yeah,
I'm paying in cash money. Speaking of money, Chris Lowe, ESPN writer Chris Lowe, checked the Georgia official website, and you can buy a jersey of one Todd Gurley for a cool $134.95. So, again,
of which he gets
when you want to know why the rule is in place, while players can't do anything with their likeness or their jerseys like AJ Green did a few years ago, it's because you're getting in on their game. That's the NCAA and the
maybe the players should say, okay,
game.
If we can't sell our jerseys and make anything off of it, then the schools can't either. Just take them off the shelves,
or just say after you graduate, if you graduate within a 5-year window, we put it in an escrow account for you. You get $200,000, or we give you a 1%. We give you a cut of it. And I get the point where people say the rules in place, and Gurley knew the rules, and you're right, he did. He knew. He's not dumb. He knew the rules. He broke the rules. He's suspended. I'm not saying he shouldn't be suspended, but we can't have that conversation and not have the other one. Okay, why is this rule in place? Is this really a good rule? What can we do here to make this a little less tempting for players? Because this is the equivalent of putting a hungry kid down in front of a plate of chocolate chip cookies and saying, don't you eat any of these cookies now, and I'm going to leave. Don't you touch these cookies. And then you walk out of the room and he eats a cookie and you're like, I told you not to eat that cookie. Those cookies are all mine.
The big loser here, of course, besides Georgia fans and their team, because let's face it, Gurley's going to make his money. This is not going to affect his marketing at all. When he is ready for the NFL draft, he's still going to be. Of course, they're not picking running backs early in the draft anymore.
Pick this one, though.
So they might make an exception for him. But yeah, you made a good point. I mean, football fans lose out now. You got a great matchup, Missouri and Georgia, big game in the SEC East coming up Saturday, and now one of the marquee players is being forced to sit out because of a non-violent situation. He didn't beat up anybody. He didn't have a problem with the female or anything like that. This was just cashing in on his name and his likeness for some amount. We've had one underground source tell us $100,000 BB, who cites his very good sources. I don't know about all that. That would be a ton of money, and that might make people think twice about it when you're talking. If it was for a few $100s or something. Back with the AJ Green situation a few years ago, I mean, it wasn't a huge amount of money, was it?
It was $1,000.
Yeah.
So, but when you're talking $100,000, that might make people,
well, if that's true, we don't know.
He did he broke
the rule.
BB has incredible.
I'm going to need a little bit more, with all due respect to Bulldog. The rule was broken. There should be a punishment, but we've got to address this, or it's going to keep happening, and we're all going to be losers because of it.
All right, we'll be right back. More calls coming up here on Sports Talk. Don't go away. back at Sports Talk here on a Thursday night, rolling along with you. We thank you for being with us wherever you are dialed in around the states, listening to us over one of our outstanding radio station affiliates, or perhaps watching us on our internet feed, our video feed at the bottom of the page, sportstalksc.com. That's KMAC working away diligently, as always, on Twitter, on the internet, looking for something. That's the pro over there, always dressed to the T, as a businessman should be, and the good-looking one over here is me. So that's you can identify us on the screen, and also you can hear the audio feed as well on our website too. So should you lose us over the airwaves, you can find us there. One quick recruiting item that I have just run across, I failed to mention earlier: Roselle Nix, the 7-footer from Pensacola, Florida, a junior college down in Florida, Pensacola State, South Carolina target. And he's down to USC, Pittsburgh, and Loyola Marymount, and he is now going to sign early. He's been to USC and Marymount. He's going to visit Pittsburgh later this month. Then he'll make his decision from those three. So South Carolina has a very good chance. This guy has, tell you what, he's something else now. He's lost 70 pounds. He still weighs 318.
Good night.
But he carries it pretty well at 7 feet. So he is a big, big guy. Averaged 6 points, 5 rebounds a game last season, and apparently is improving as the seasons go on. So keep an eye on Roselle Nix, South Carolina, Pittsburgh, Loyola Marymount, native of Cincinnati, by the way. All right, we go to John in Travelers Rest. Next up on Sports Talk. Hi, John. How are you?
I feel how y'all doing tonight.
Man, we're doing great.
Has Dabo Swinney been hitting the head?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not lately.
Not publicly.
Well, to come out and say that they still had a chance to make the 4-team playoff, I believe he's been hitting the head.
Well, Dabo is never going to give up the fight until he absolutely has to. And the way things are in college football,
why
2 losses is not going to close the door on you right now.
I mean, is that a strong possibility? No, but look what happened last week in college football. Look how many teams inside the top 8 lost. Look at Clemson's schedule down the stretch. If they keep winning and that kind of chaos keeps happening, and I promise you, in the SEC West, it's going to be any given Saturday. I don't think anybody gets to that division unscathed. All sorts of things are going to happen between now and November. And, crazier things have happened in college football. Would I predict it? Would I call it? No, but I don't blame him for saying that. I don't think Dabo says some pretty goofy things sometimes. I wouldn't put that in the goofy category.
But, their outside chances coming. Pac-12.
He when he found out about this Gurley thing, he says it's a forfeit. They'll win. Is there anything to do that?
Could. Yeah, but it won't change. Yeah, I know the thought now. Clemson fans are going, wait a minute, that's going to turn into a win. No, Georgia will have to forfeit the victory, perhaps, and it'll go off Mark Richt's record, and it'll turn into a loss. And it won't be a loss on Dabo's record, I suppose. But Clemson won't get credit this season for the win. And teams in the SEC East, Tennessee's going, wait a minute, can we get a win? And no.
South Carolina's like, well, it doesn't matter to us because we beat them.
Yeah,
that's what South Carolina would say. They got their W over Georgia. All right, we'll be right back. Jamie Chadwell is going to join us here in a moment. They're going to step into SEC territory this weekend. All right, we are back with you here on Sports Talk. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes from our Columbia studios. Welcome into the program. Head football coach at Charleston Southern, Coach Jamie Chadwell. Our interview brought to you by South Carolina Soybean and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. It's good to have Coach with us. And I have to admit up front, Coach, that I was going to call you anyway, but I really wanted to make sure we got you on because I have to admit to a mistake last night that I made when we had Joe Moglia on, and I began that interview by saying that Coastal was the only undefeated team in the state. But he was quick to correct me and point out that Charleston Southern, too, is undefeated, which I knew I'd just forgotten. So I was actually trying to sucker him into coming on and saying something nice about you and Charleston Southern. So he did step up and point out that you two are also undefeated at this point.
Well, I appreciate Joe giving us a plug. That's good. Maybe he'll send me a check for it, too.
Well, he did give us some stock advice later in the interview that I'll share with you later.
Okay.
All right, you guys are headed to Nashville, and I'm going to put that undefeated mark on the line. First of all, at this point in the season, how do you feel about the way you guys have played? Are you where in terms of performance? Are you where you thought you would be?
Well, obviously, your record. You're happy about that. I think our schedule has been what we need for where we're at in our building our program. We started off with some teams we shouldn't win. We had some tough games. And we're learning how to fight through and play through some different things that we didn't have to go through last year. And so I'm pleased where we're at. The thing that's bothered us more than anything is we've had a lot of bad weather in Charleston. Not been able to get outside a lot and actually do some things. I've been in the gym quite a bit. And so if you ask me, hey, fundamentals as a team, are you where you need to be fundamentally in those things? No, that worries me. This past couple of weeks has been the first time we've really been outside consecutive for a while, and so I'm anxious to see if we improve in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm pleased with where we're at now, and we'll see if we can continue to get better as we go forward and really start our games that obviously matter going into our conference.
How much has the having to go indoors and practice, how much has that set you back?
Well, I think it set us back a lot. I mean, you can work on scheme all you want. Scheme's good, but it still comes down to the basic block and tackle to be able to do those things right. I especially think at a level like ours where, your talent level's not what it's not as big guys are. And so you really have to develop guys. And we missed about probably 3 straight weeks of going outside probably a couple of days a week, and that adds up on you. And so I think we're playing catch-up over there in certain areas, especially because we're playing some young guys. And so it's a little, to be honest with you, I'm a little nervous about that, sort of where we're at as we're getting going in our conference. But hopefully these last couple weeks, the open week has been good. First open we've had in 2 years, so I felt like we got better in certain areas, and we'll continue to do that.
What about the injury situation? Anybody of significance going to be missing the game on Saturday?
Well, we're going to be out without a start tight end that got a concussion in our Charlotte game a couple weeks ago. That's going to set him back. We lost a start wide receiver. We've had some injuries at wide receiver. We lost a start wide receiver versus Charlotte. Jared Scotland was a freshman playing well for us that had an injury. He's going to be out for the year. So we're going to be missing 2 guys there. And then we've got our all-conference defensive lineman, Dylan Black. He's questionable. He broke a fractured a thumb a couple weeks ago, and we're trying to get him back, but we don't know. So we're not as we went into open week feeling good about ourselves. We came out of it more injuries than I kind of imagined. So it's been a little crazy at our place, but we're hoping that those guys, besides Jared, will be able to get back here the next week or 2.
All right, visiting with Coach Jamie Chadwell from Charleston Southern. Austin Brown, the transfer, is your quarterback for the most part. And he's put up some good numbers, 64% 859 yards, 8 touchdowns to 1 interception. I got to believe you're pleased with what you've seen from him.
Extremely. He's first and foremost taking care of the football, as you could tell, and he's making the most of his opportunity. I think we're not throwing for tons of yards. I think we're averaging about 180 or 200 a game, but he's averaging about 14 yards per completion, doing really well, spread the ball around, and has done a great job for us of just being that leader that you need back there. I think the quarterback more than anything can have intangibles guys rally around, and when we've had some tight games, they've looked at him and he's made some plays when we needed to. And I think more than anything, statistics don't show that. And that's why we're sitting here at 5-0 and feeling good about going in, and hopefully we can play well this Saturday.
Now, Vanderbilt, as we all know, has struggled under Derek Mason in the transition. His first year as the head coach there, and they were, flying high with James Franklin. Now they've sort of taken that step back, and people are saying, see, it's the old Vanderbilt now. They're desperate for a win there, and I got to believe they'll come at you got your guys as hard as they can, I would think. But how do you like the matchup? Do you see this as a game, even though you're stepping up in class to the SEC, that you have a chance to match up and maybe do some good things?
Well, we feel good about going in it. We feel like if we'll go play our best, and they're young and inexperienced at certain things, that we play our best, and maybe we're in there going into the second half that they're expected to win. Maybe they'll get a little tight, start wondering what's going on, and question themselves. And I like our chances if we get there. There's no question, they're struggling, but they're struggling against Georgia, Kentucky, and South Carolina. They're playing, really good teams. So when you watch it, you go, "Oh, this guy's pretty good," and then he's going to get the guy that's, a 5-star, 4-star. So that's the comparison that's hard to make. Is they're big and strong, and they're even though their record is what it is, they're athletically and physically they're so much better than anybody we've seen. You hope with the new systems that they're doing that there's still a learning process, and maybe if we'll go get a couple things to go our way, that confidence that they don't have right now because of who they're playing, it gets in the back of the mind, and they start going, "Uh-oh, we're losing to an FCS team." And that's what you hope. Because, if they play their best, we're going to get beat. But they've probably not played their best yet, and I feel like we're hitting their stride. So I'm anxious to see my team go up there and compete a little bit, and I think their guys are confident going in that if we'll play well, that we'll have a chance. Now, we might get falling out the first half for all I know, but I'm excited about going up there and seeing what we do.
Now, they got quarterback issues. Patton Robinette got hurt against South Carolina. They've had the freshman Wade Free back. But I'll tell you what, now you have to be impressed with Ralph Webb, their freshman back, and you got to be ready to contain him. He did a very nice job against South Carolina in particular, running. They ran that ball between the tackles pretty well against South Carolina.
Yeah, that's our war. They're really big up front, and when we're not, we base more off of speed, on our D line and moving a lot. And the Warriors are just going to line up there and try to just really move the pile on us and wear us down. And we've not had a lot of success versus teams that have done that. So what we've got to do is hopefully we'll try our best to load it up and say, "Hey, quarterback, whoever it is, see if you can make a throw. We're going to put as many as we can in the box. We'll try to put 100 up there if they'll let us, and say, hey, make a throw. And if you beat us doing that, then we're going to live with that. We just don't want them to wear us down, pound us, and then they're controlling and can do whatever they want. So we've got a plan for that, and we hope that it'll work, and that we can just keep them behind the sticks a little bit, just enough where they get a little worried about it and start putting that quarterback or whoever. We don't even know who's playing. In some situations he's not comfortable with, and if we'll do that, I like our chances on third down. So we do a good job on that.
Coach, have a good time in Nashville. Of course, the only way you'll have a good time is if you get a W, but if you get a chance, get out and enjoy Nashville a little bit. Don't know if you're able to do that, but thank you for visiting with us, and we'll be talking to you again down the road. You got some big league games, of course, coming up right around the corner. So come out of this game. If you can get a W, that'd be great, but you got to stay healthy and get ready for the Big South.
That's right. So I appreciate y'all very much.
Coach, thank you. Coach Jamie Chadwell from Charleston Southern going to Vanderbilt. And you know what? Charleston Southern, pretty doggone good team. Got a good running back, good quarterback, and but size-wise, not going to match up even with a Vanderbilt team that's 1-5. They're not going to match up personnel-wise across the board.
What you don't want to do is get your team banged up in a game like this because you got the Big South Championship you're staring at.
the discipline, and then the game's so much simpler when you play with discipline and you're reading your key and where they have you saw guys enjoying the game and that doesn't happen a whole lot, and sometimes you kind of get in the groove and you catch a team when they're a little bit off and you're really on, and again you kind of overwhelm them. Again, as a football team, we really complemented each other in every way really well. So it's not just about just playing well, it's also catching them on a bad day too, where sometimes it's not as much you, sometimes it's sometimes you kind of get in the groove and you catch a team when they're a little bit off and you're really on, and again you kind of overwhelm them. And again, as a football team, we really complemented each other in every way really well. So it's not just about just playing.
All right, once again, thanks to Jamie Chadwell. They'll play Georgia, their last game of the regular season, so they got two so-called money games ahead of them. Vanderbilt this weekend, then Georgia at the end of the season. Appreciate Coach joining us tonight. All right, Clemson getting ready for Louisville. The Tiger defense, of course, has for the most part been pretty good. They're coming off that excellent outing against NC State. Them now. Brent Venables and company getting ready for Louisville, which, they haven't had the robust offense that they will have in time under Bobby Petrino. It's going to get better. They've had some quarterback issues and the like. They may be getting their star receiver back. They may be getting their normal starting quarterback back. They are pretty good up front on the offensive line. Here's Brent Venables, Clemson's defensive coordinator, and his breakdown of Louisville's offense.
Physical, multiple. They've got excellent wideouts and two or three backs that are strong and physical and explosive, good tight ends. And, again, like I say, multiple in their formations and things they do in the run and the play action. We'll get a little bit like last week in regards to a variety of personnel groups, and they do a great job of using those personnel groups the right way. They try to put themselves in favorable matchups and not really have had any experience defending their schemes. Kind of getting baptized here this week in that regard, and going back and looking back all the way, at Western Kentucky as well, and seeing some of the DNA, if you will, of their bread and butter, the things that show up pretty consistently. And of course, I think they won maybe 8 games. Coach Petrino won 8 games last year at Western Kentucky, and that Obviously, it doesn't happen by accident. You know, he knows what he's doing. The players are very confident. The O-line plays aggressive, and they're talented. You know, Coach Strong and their staff did a great job of recruiting, and I think that's well documented in their success against, top teams has been renownedly known. So they won't come into Death Valley in awe. I don't believe. I think the mantra of that team is about being tough and having an edge to them, and competing at a very, very high emotional level. You know, a lot of guys that wear it on the sleeve, and I like that. You know, I've got respect for that.
Mind you faced.
Oh, he's obviously. I mean, his track record speaks for itself. You know what they're able to do on offense, and he's had incredible success and very consistent success, and more success than most. So he doesn't need me to rate him. You know, he's done well for himself, and wherever he goes, his players play at a high level. He knows what he's doing and knows how to put them in a position to be successful, and how to execute and be precise and be competitive and tough. And that's what I can appreciate the most, whether it's his receivers blocking on the perimeter or the competitiveness overall as a unit, and the confidence that they play with. That's something that's always followed him. They move the ball and they score points, and they're multiple, and how they do it is not just one thing. Mike Leach is known for the air raid, and he does an awesome job as well, and they put up prolific numbers throwing the football. Petrino, I think he understands how to utilize his personnel based on what he has, and he's an excellent football coach.
It's fun for you to go up against a guy like that.
It's not me. I'm not going to tackle anybody, cover anybody. I just, it's your plan or your schemes, and how you call it. That's way overrated. It's how your players play, the precision, the technique, the effort, the toughness. This game's always about fundamentals and technique, and who's playing with great effort, and coaches get way too much credit, and it definitely isn't going to be about me or Coach Petrino when we get to the field Saturday.
All right, Brent Venables talking about getting ready for Louisville. Louisville 5-1 coming in, and they're not going to tip their hand as to who their starting quarterback is going to be. They've started a freshman each of the last two games. Will Gardner is no graybeard by any means. He's a young guy as well. Stepped in as the starter this year after Teddy Bridgewater left. Well, that's a shame. Too bad Bridgewater's still not with Louisville. Wouldn't you love to see Bridgewater go up against that Clemson defense with Deshaun Watson on the other side?
Would have been very interesting.
Gardner is a big kid now. He's 6'5", 226, got a big arm, but he's been a little bit banged up. The other is Reggie Bonifant, who's 6'3", 206. Back in a minute. All right, coming up on the end of the program, and appreciate all the phone calls and appreciate you dialing in and joining us tonight here on Sports Talk. Back at it tomorrow night. We'll have more good stuff for you. The Governors will be with us tomorrow night, and we'll talk, of course, more about Clemson and Louisville right now. And, of course, I had a great week last week picking games, by the way, 7-3. Corn on the run, moving up the standings here in the battle of the experts here at Sports Talk. K-Mac, you had a terrible week, by the way.
I did have an off week.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
So I'm thinking I'm going to pick Clemson to win, but I'm thinking it's going to be a little more of a lower scoring game. I mean, you got to respect the two defenses here until proven otherwise. You got to respect the two defenses.
You would be proven otherwise.
So I'm thinking Clemson will win, but they won't cover. Okay, the 9.5, they won't cover.
I don't know. They're on a roll right now. I just see them covering.
I'll say this. I like what was it Petrino? One of their guys said yesterday. That was one of their players who said if we stop them on the first series, Clemson right now they're kind of like they were last year with Taj. Remember how quickly they would score? I think there were 4 or 5 games last year. Mm-hmm. They scored within the first 4 plays. They're doing that now with Deshaun Watson. If you can go out and force a punt on that first series, not let Watson get off, throw a touchdown pass, get a drive going, get a lot of confidence. If you can do that, kind of rattle his cage. Tell you what, you're going to see 2 of the finest defensive players in the country on Louisville side in Kelsey and Malden. Kelsey, a defensive end, and Malden, who was a defensive end, but he's playing weak side linebacker. 2 outstanding defensive players.
Yeah, they haven't played an offense like Clemson's yet,
and
played in a venue like Clemson's.
And what did they do?
That's arguable. Now they were at
goes
the
down,
Carrier Dome,
yeah, the half-empty Carrier Dome.
If Clemson goes down, here's 2 scenarios. If Clemson goes down the field and score a touchdown, does Louisville now forfeit the rest of the game? Also, if they take the opening kickoff back, does that count?
Yeah, Louisville their offense. I watched the game Friday night. It was on when the Dodgers were blowing game 1 of the NLDS against the Cardinals, and I was not impressed with the other Cardinals offense. I think St. Louis scored more runs in the 7th inning than the Louisville Cardinals did the entire game. So anyway,
yeah,
a person has confirmed to Sports Illustrated's Andy Staples that Todd Gurley was paid $400 to sign 80 items on campus in Athens one day this past spring. The person claimed to have a photo and a video of Gurley signing the items, but the video showed money changing hands. NCAA rules require schools to immediately declare a player ineligible if they discover a violation has been committed.
Anybody
schools
can shoot video of a guy signing autographs and say, here it is where he signed
$400.
So they can get some juice from it.
$400.
On a more positive note, Kurt Busch, currently your leader in qualifying at Charlotte at 198.771. That will do it. Yeah, that is pretty disgusting that all of this over $400, and it could put George in position of forfeiting games because technically he's ineligible. This happened back in the spring. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow night here on Sports Talk.